Kyle, Terrifier 3 is coming out soon. Are you ready to talk about gore in horror movies?
This thing's so flaccid.
We can just add that in post.
Oh.
Well, here we are, Kyle. Here to talk about the Terrifier franchise, specifically 1 and 2, ahead of Terrifier 3 coming out very soon. Take it away, Kyle. How about you ease us into this world of Terrifier? How did it come to be in this sort of day and age where the horror genre is all about the elevated, quote unquote, high horror trend that's going on? These sort of, we're getting deep into our emotions, into our trauma type horror. That seems to be the trend. And then out of nowhere comes this phenomena of Terrifier movies with art, the miming clown. So tell us, Kyle. Take us through step by step a little bit of these movies.
His name is Art the Clown. Miming is his vocation. Killing is his avocation. But
I like that.
Anyway, enough about me. The thing that's interesting about these movies, it feels like a reaction to everything having subtext and some kind of big message to it.
Mm-hmm.
You could see that the director, Damien Leone, grew up loving schlocky slasher films from the 80s.
AKA the best.
Yes. I think a little background about these. They are what I would call gore for gore's sake. Not to downplay them, but just...
Of course.
It is an exploration of gore effects as an art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's commendable just what he was able to do outside of the studio system. The first film was made for a budget of reportedly $35,000, which I know of short films that were made for more than that.
Yeah. No, yeah, seriously.
So that is amazing.
Our thesis film together was $35,000.
Yeah.
It was only 10 minutes long.
Yes.
That guy made a whole ass feature.
And he did all the special effects himself, which it's amazing. I mean, they look great.
They do. From the blood, the guts, the gore, the flesh, to the pee-pee and the poo-poo.
Yes.
Everything has such a interesting, consistent vibe to it. It feels like hyper realistic.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
There's a lot of people getting their faces cut and ripped up. He makes it very fleshy. I don't know what that is. I'm not a makeup artist. I don't know if it's gelatin or something, but it feels very fleshy in a way that those older films didn't look.
Pause for a second. Put your right arm down because I think
Am I blocking the image? Okay.
Yes, Kyle, you're blocking me. My shot.
I'm blocking your shot?
You're blocking my shot.
Those idiot producers. Those imbeciles. Haven't they got any eyes? Have they forgotten what a star looks like?
Anyway, what are we drinking tonight?
What are we drinking? You made this, so how about you tell me what we're drinking? I don't know.
I don't like asking questions. I don't like answering questions. This is a Corpse Reviver 2, number 2. Number two.
The sequel.
It's the sequel. It's this. People prefer it.
So I don't have to try the first one to appreciate this one.
It's like T2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, T1's great, but T2 an improvement.
Indeed. T2 as in Terminator, are you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was also going to say T2 as in Terrifier 2.
Oh.
Yeah,
which is also an improvement.
It's also an improvement. I mean, yeah, like you were saying, like the first one is fantastic in the sense that this guy got it done in such like a small budget, did all the effects himself, and really made the effects the centerpiece, right, of the entire film. It's not at all a traditional Hollywood film. Whoever might be a protagonist is pretty much killed off within the first third of the film.
Yeah.
Right, and then it introduces a new character who just ends up getting even more brutally murdered.
There was something, there was something to this series of people winding up in situations where they're murdered that made me think of this old Mario Bava movie called Bay of Blood. It takes place at this Italian lakeside resort. Spoiler alert, the film begins with a character getting murdered and then the murderer immediately getting murdered. I felt a little bit like that watching the first one. The second one had more of a traditional plot. The second one
it had more story to it.
Yeah.
But it also felt very unique in the sense that the story almost feels like a slight mythology because it's like it's centered around this family who, I mean, it's kind of like a very conventional, traditional horror film setup in the sense that it's set around this family who's recently lost a family member, their father, right? The kids have lost their father and their mother lost her husband. That's a very conventional, traditional setup for a horror film, a loss of a family member. But it's interesting how it takes that and this father who is passed was having visions of art, the mime, right? And was
it's
having...
clown.
Or
he
clown,
prefers clown.
Sorry, he prefers clown. Art the clown. He was having visions
He
of
just
art.
happens to be mute.
Yeah.
He's not a mime. He's just
a mute clown.
Yes,
But
it's a coincidence.
It's interesting
he
how
actually is very offended being called a mime.
I'm sorry, forgive me. It's interesting though. It almost plays out like a Greek mythological tale in the sense that it's about this family whose dead father had visions of the future of his daughter smiting this great evil.
Yeah.
Right? Like that feels like Greek mythology to me. And so I thought that was very interesting. The second one's much more of a traditional narrative, for sure.
I want to ask you something.
Tell me,
Just
ask
a
me.
slight detour.
I like detours.
What do you think it is about practical effects gore that people love?
Okay, I'm just going to talk personally for myself. I don't know if this is true for
You have
everyone.
to generalize about everybody. I'm sorry.
To generalize, like try to get a general consensus in my mind instantly. I've worked in some horror special effects before in the past myself. A little wink nod to the camera. I used to work at Universal Studios Hollywood. Worked during the Halloween Horror Nights event for several years. So I have a love for horror special effects. And for me, I think it started at a really young age. I think the first movie that really made me love special effects was the first Evil Dead. I watched that at far too young of an age. I think I was like 9 or 10 when I watched it for the first time.
I've heard so many crazy things about that shoot.
I know. I mean, it's a bunch of college students who got together
Didn't know anything.
Didn't know anything about filmmaking, but like somehow made a freaking masterpiece.
Rolling. Slate it.
Scene 56 HC, take 3, sounds 613.
Okay, dart anytime.
For any film, let alone a freaking independent film that took them years to make, just crazy how passion really drove that project and brought it into reality, right? But anyways, I think the special nice thing about horror special effects is that there's a simultaneous horrifying aspect to it, obviously, but also this campiness involved, over the top horror effects that almost some people wouldn't think it's cozy, but I like to call. I think campy horror films that really lean into the camp, specifically practical special effects. That's something to note about Terrifier. It's primarily, majorly, if not 100% practical.
I think he like added the eyeball digitally at that scene when the mother comes home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess people have watched Terrifier 2 if they're watching this probably.
I know. I remember what you're talking about.
Spoiler: somebody gets brutally murdered. I mean, that's an understatement. They get flayed alive, basically. Their mother comes home. They got a missing arm. Most of their skin's missing. They got an eye missing. I hate when that happens, right? Apparently, that was a dummy. That
nice.
Like a rod puppet, and they were controlling it through the wall.
That's crazy.
With puppeteers.
I didn't even know that.
And then they added the eye digitally so that the eye could look at the mother when they came in.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
You can find the behind the scenes on YouTube. It looks like they had a blast making it. Everybody seems so happy.
What time did you guys go to bed last night?
6. You know what time we woke up?
What?
9:30. Did nap for an hour and a half though.
I didn't get a nice.
George said he slept a good 15 hours yesterday.
No, about 12.
It could be grisly. I could see how people could find it very grisly, but it seems like it was a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you've ever seen I know this sounds like completely unrelated, but I don't know if you've seen the John Wick series. But where the comparison I'm trying to make here is like, whereas the John Wick series, essentially we've had a lot of superhero movies, a lot of action movies the past 15 years now. Yeah. And for a long time, the action choreography was becoming less and less focused upon in a lot of these action superhero movies because it was more so focused on sort of the spectacle of it and less so on the actual choreography. Stunt performers and everything were really kind of like, their work wasn't being fully put on display so they could actually show.
A lot of it was hidden in the editing.
Exactly. A lot of it's hidden in the editing.
Lots of shaky handheld and quick cuts.
Exactly.
And you can't see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And so it was a trend that was around for a while.
I've
still
seen
exists.
That,
still exists, but
you've seen that clip from Taken where the guys
where there's 17 cuts.
17 cuts to get him over the
to get him over the wall. The fence. Yeah.
I guess it's funny. Maybe it all started with Bourne Identity, which did it well, but then people took it too far.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I like to think of Terrifier as like what John Wick is to stunts, Terrifier is to horror special effects, right?
Yeah,
where it was just John Wick has a director who only used to do stunt coordination and choreography, right? And was a stunt performer for many years. I believe it was actually 2 directors who did stunts who come in and make a movie pretty much just come up with a good story to showcase a bunch of kick-ass stunt scenes and spectacle, right? Terrifier is the same, but to the horror genre with gore and horror special effects, practical effects. A lot of things have become CGI now. A lot of people don't make practical monsters anymore, except for recently, just a shout out to Alien Romulus, right? They used almost all practical effects, at least for all the creatures, the xenomorphs and the face huggers. Great. Yeah, and so
looks better than Alien 3.
Oh no, not again.
We're seeing now a trend coming back to practical special effects, and Terrifier was kind of ahead of the game in that sense, where you have someone who's primarily a special effects artist, special effects makeup and everything. That's his background, and then he just comes and finds an excuse to make a movie that just showcases the special effects and some nice creature design, right?
Yeah.
And now you have Art, the clown, not the mime, the clown, who is becoming this horror icon all of a sudden, and it's all thanks to Damien Leone, right? Who's reminding us our roots, I guess you could say.
It's clear to me why people are so drawn to these films. It's because it's scratching that itch of practical effects, practical special effects that, like you were saying, has been sadly missing from a lot of films.
Yeah.
And, there's something about them for me. We both love The Thing, John Carpenter, amazing movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about it. It's like it taps into the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. I think it taps into the imagination and kind of expands what's possible. I think For me, that's the magic of movies. It makes the impossible possible. It makes dreams and imagination manifest.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
And on our wall of fame here, these practical effects, they're still inspiring just what they were able to do
Exactly.
back in those
'Cause
times.
back
you
then,
know?
we didn't have all these fancy computers or anything like
Well,
that.
even the makeup effects technology,
Yeah.
just thinking about what they were working with back then. So, I admire that. I
Me too.
also, watching these Terrifier movies made me think of a lot of the Italian horror and Giallo movies that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to Terrifier 2, the scene with the woman who gets flailed, it made me think of Fulci movies.
Yeah.
Like New York Ripper. There's that scene with the woman getting cut in half.
Yeah.
Very gruesome. I just feel like it's like a spiritual successor to those kind of, especially Fulci movies, because he always went a little too far with his effects. He always, in his later films, he always went a little too far.
Always lingered on it.
He always lingered on it
Yeah.
a little bit, so it made me think of those movies.
Definitely.
I think Fulci would have loved the Terrifier movies, and
I like that.
I'm sure he'd be making something like that if he was still around. You know?
Man, for a lot of these Giallo filmmakers, I feel like they would thrive in today's, like, just in terms of like what's available to like the average consumer now.
Yeah.
In terms of like camera and technology
Oh,
and what
yeah.
you can do on such a small budget. Now's the time for a Giallo uprising, a rebirth.
Yes.
Right now is the time.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree.
Do you have a favorite makeup artist?
I'm going to give you a very vanilla answer to your question. Greg Nicotero.
What has
he's
he done?
He did The Walking Dead,
Oh, cool.
zombies and everything like that. That guy almost like single-handedly with his special effects reinvigorated the zombie genre. I love his special effects. There's also other movies I can name. I love the special effects makeup in Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
I'm not sure who this SFX artist is for that one. I'm sure there was like a huge team of people. Yeah, so Greg Nicotero, he just did a fantastic job bringing back the zombie genre, and it makes sense because he first started off working with George Romero on Day of the Dead 1985, who he worked on with, and he learned from Tom Savini,
Nice.
veteran Tom Savini.
Tom Savini.
I love
that guy. I love how scrappy that guy is. Some of his classic special effects. Was it an arrow going through Kevin Bacon's neck in Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
It looks so good.
It does.
His effects, I think, are like the reason to watch it. They stand
100%.
out.
Yeah.
They're the standout part.
And I
for
like
me.
that you said like what scrappy, like he had like a scrappy nature to him. I remember there was a story about Greg Nicotero where on the set of The Walking Dead, I don't know if it was the first season or something, they needed some like gore, like guts. Nothing like looked good in camera, and he went over to the crafty table, and there was a juicer there, and there was like raw carrot that had been juiced or something, and he took the raw carrot and like the mulch from like whatever fruits and veggies was there. He added like I don't know if he added red food coloring or some sort of red dye to it to make it look like blood, and they used that as the guts, and it made it into the final cut of the episode.
I love that shit.
Which is awesome. That's
I love
awesome.
That
It's
makes
like
me think of in the first Alien movie when they do the autopsy on the face hugger.
Yeah.
And it's just oysters.
yeah.
It's like oysters and other scallops and shit. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this light. Every fucking time. That's going to be a recurring gag.
Cool.
Got that, Kyle?
Love it. But yeah, and Kyle, Jake.
If I gaslight you enough, eventually you're going to believe that your name is Kyle.
If you guess, let me enough. Speaking of gaslight, talk about the mom in Terrifier 2.
Oh my god. She was the real psychopath in that movie.
Are you drunk?
She slapped the shit out of her kid.
She slapped
too.
the shit out of her kid. She was always yelling at him. After she downs a full glass of wine, like to the brim, and a handful of pills, she's yelling at Sienna, "Did you drink anything? Did you drink anything?" Like,
oh my gosh!
wow.
I think it's
that
like
that gave me so much anxiety. That was,
that plays into like the trope of just shitty parents in like these types of slasher movies or
Yeah.
absent parents, right?
It was weird.
It was weird,
But
it was weird.
like, it was effective.
It was.
for me.
And it was kind of satisfying. Spoiler alert: to see her dead body just at the dinner table, right? Isn't it at
Yeah,
the dinner table
yeah.
where he puts like her mutilated body and like
Yeah.
face is all
She can't yell without a face.
exactly.
I have no mouth, but I must scream. You ever read that?
Yeah, unfortunately.
We'll get to that one in the future.
I actually think that's probably one of the top 5 stories out of any medium that scared me the
Yes.
most. Is that
Yeah.
one? We'll talk about it. One
We'll
day.
talk about it.
Not right now, but
Someday,
we'll talk about it
5
one day.
loyal listeners, you'll hear us
5 loyal listeners.
ramble about that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so do you have a favorite makeup special effects artist?
I think Rob Bottin,
Mm-hmm.
as kind of a normal answer as that is, I guess. The thing for me, you could never tell where it was going with the transformations of the thing into different formations.
Yeah.
When they use the paddles on whatever that guy's name is,
Yeah, I don't know.
Norris maybe was it
Something-
Norris?
yeah, something
I don't
like
know. We'll just say it was Norris, and somebody can
I'm
tell
so
us we
bad
were
with
wrong.
names.
I'm bad with names. I don't even remember who I am half the time.
I know you keep
Anyway,
calling
I'm
yourself
Jacob.
Jake.
I'm Jacob. I'm Jake. Anyway, when he puts the paddles in and it opens up into the mouth, and then the guy's head falls off and turns into a spider. It's like, where the fuck is this thing going?
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Just being able to let go and just, you don't know where you're going. Just releasing yourself. Releasing yourself
I like
into
that.
the hands of a capable filmmaker is just, it's a thrilling feeling.
You should write like a horror filmmaking self-help book.
I was thinking
Release
I
yourself.
was thinking it was the beginning of like an erotic novel or something,
A man enters. The room wouldn't be the only thing he'd enter that day.
There's something erotic about that. You're giving yourself over to them, and there's something thrilling about that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, are you...
And another movie of his
Tell me.
that I love. Sorry to interrupt.
Tell me, no, tell
Actually,
me.
I'm not sorry. Fuck you. Another Total Recall.
Oh, yeah.
Total Recall. That's another movie where it's just...
That the Schwarzenegger movie? Arnold
That's a Schwarzenegger one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that one. That one messed
Yeah.
with me as a kid.
Yeah.
The special effects are fantastic.
The eyes bulging, was that the thing that messed with you?
That was probably
And
it, yeah.
what about the Quato? Was that it? Quato? Is that what the thing was? The little alien? The little, like...
I know what you're talking
the little tumor baby?
Yeah.
Was that Quato? Was that the
Something
guy's
like
name?
that.
We don't do any research. We don't prepare.
Although you just reminded me of a scene from Hellboy. Where
Not
there's-
everything needs to be about Hellboy or Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, it does. There's a great special effect of like they think it's like, oh, look at the little baby.
A nice baby.
I'm not a baby, I'm a tumor.
I'm not a baby, I'm a tumor. It says I just love that little scene, and the makeup looks freaking awesome for it because it's
Yeah.
all practical effect. But tell me, Kyle, are you excited for Terrifier 3? Are we gonna go see it together? in theaters.
I think we're gonna have to.
I feel obligated to.
We are.
We have to
obligated
I feel like
we have to do episodes about popular horror films, so that people searching on YouTube will click on our episodes, and we will gain viewership and hopefully subscribers.
It's true.
Because talking about obscure shit that nobody gives a fuck about, well,
except for the,
isn't going to get us anywhere. Look, if you are one of the few people who stuck around from us talking about religion in horror, thank you. But
seriously.
Thank
you.
That's like 5 people.
I love those 5 people.
I do too.
They've stuck with me longer than anyone else. As aspiring horror filmmakers who would love to have a horror feature out one day, I feel like we owe it to our man Damien to go see the 3rd one, just to support horror that does practical effects. That's, that's dare I say, the counter. It's like a counter. It's very rebellious against it's like a counterculture, type of response, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
It's like there's sort of, we're in this and the A24 films are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but they started kind of this trend of we're in the high horror, we're in the, highbrow, intelligent, very coy, metaphorical type horror, visual metaphor, visual imagery, symbolizing something deeper. And then you have, the opposite end of the spectrum, which is just as exciting, like Terrifier, the Terrifier series, just very straightforward. Here's the gore, here's the special effects, here's all the crazy shit. Let's just put that on display and have a fun, good time. So I feel like we owe it to our man Damien to go see the 3rd one. You ready?
Oh, yeah. I saw it's Christmas themed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw Art was dressed up like Santa Claus and looked like he was about to murder a bunch of kids, which honestly, murdering kids in a shopping mall during the holiday season, who hasn't had that urge? Who hasn't had that urge?
Yeah.
I know I'm excited to see it, and it looked like the brother and sister from Terrifier 2 are going to be in this one as well.
It looked like it, yes.
It looked like it, yeah. Which is it's cool. I like their characters. I hope they don't die. I care about.
I'm looking forward to Terrifier 4 when they explore other holidays.
Yeah.
Like Flag Day.
Bastille Day.
Bastille Day.
Bastille Day.
It turns out Art is French. We just didn't know because he can't speak. We couldn't hear the accents.
I mean, yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. He looks French.
It makes sense because of the miming tradition. You know that David Bowie studied miming.
You were telling me that before. Yeah. Fun fact, David Bowie, my first concert. True story.
You saw David Bowie in concert?
I did see David Bowie in concert.
I fucking hate you.
I know. I was like 10 years old.
Oh my God.
It doesn't even exist anymore. It was called the Anaheim Pond, I remember. It's now where like the Honda Center is or something like that in Anaheim in Orange County.
Tell me something. Did you appreciate it?
I did.
That's good.
I was actually talking about special effects and like makeup and stuff like that. The reason why I fell in love with David Bowie in the first place at such a young age was Jim Henson's Labyrinth. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk about great practical effects.
Yeah.
Not horror, but dark fantasy. Close enough. It's adjacent.
Look, if the menu can be horror, Dark Crystal or Labyrinth,
we're gonna need to
whatever.
Talk about Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
I don't.
Like a future episode.
They've kind of melted in my mind.
Yeah,
you know?
I get you. I
mean,
I think Dark Crystal's
no
more
disrespect,
horror.
They've melted in my mind.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
I don't know
Both
why.
great.
I think it's I'm going senile or something.
That's okay.
I don't know.
But that's
anyway,
why I fell in love with David Bowie, because he's the Goblin King in Labyrinth. And so I fell in love with him, listened to his music nonstop.
You remind me of a man.
What man?
A man. What's the?
It's like the man with the power.
The man with the power.
The power of voodoo. Hoodoo.
Yeah, the power. The
But
power
you remind me of the Babe.
That's from some Cary Grant movie.
Hey, you remind me of a man.
What man?
The man with the power.
What power?
The power of hoodoo.
Hoodoo?
You do.
Do what?
Remind me of a man.
What man?
The man with the power.
That's from a Cary Grant movie.
I love that song. The music in Labyrinth is
Are you
fantastic.
fucking listening?
But yes, I'm excited for Terrifier 3. I think the trailer looks fun. I like that they're digging deep into the holidays. That's what I liked about Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
Getting more into Halloween, and which is coming up soon as well.
Terrifier 4, Tax Day.
Tax Day.
Art's the tax man.
That's the scariest.
That's the
gonna be the
scariest
scariest one yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm excited to see Terrifier 3, though. It was great talking about the Terrifier series with you right now. But thank you so much for joining us this week. And Jake and Kyle's spooky good time. We'll see you in the next episode, y'all.
All right, I think that was enough.